Hi, I'm Gabe.
And I'm Kat.
And we're the Ghouls next door. That's us.
That is us. That's fun.
We are the Ghouls next door.
Ghouls are scary.
I like scary things.
And scary things are fun.
And today is our 16th episode.
That's so many numbers.
That's a lot of numbers. It's more than my hands.
Yeah, it's true.
So this is a podcast is what we're doing, and a podcast is where you talk to people. But our podcast is special because it is about scary things.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of kids don't always talk about scary things.
No, not like Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark or
the scary man who lives under our beds.
Mm-hmm. But we talk about horror stuff and we educate you. And today we're talking about the scariest thing that ever was scary. Yeah. So we're talking about children. And they're scary.
Did you know?
We're talking about kids.
Yeah, I hear that kids can be really scary for like a whole bunches of reasons.
Yeah, there's like real serial killer kids, and then there's like kids in the movies that are creepy and they stare at you from afar and they're always holding like their stuffed animal and they're like, come play with us.
But you don't want to go play with them. It's like a bad time.
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah. Because like when I say come play with me, I don't mean I'm going to kill you.
Mm-hmm,
but I feel
sure.
like maybe I do. You know, just like pins and stuff. It's just a fun time. You tell me it's going to be sad, but it's going to be fun for me. It'll make me feel like heaven inside while I'm killing you. Oh. That's the thing that was on Family Guy once. Did you know?
No.
Felt like heaven while I was doing it. That's what he says when he murdered an animal. They're like, Davey, why did you murder? Why did you murder him? Because it's like, I think David Crockett or something.
Oh.
And he's like, why did you? He's like, I did it because I needed this hat and because it felt like heaven while I was doing it. It was really funny.
That's a good one. With kids, one thing I always like to think about is like in horror video games, it's always okay. In horror video games, but specifically Silent Hill, it's always the kid that's like running away and you have to like go get it. And it's like, don't, just let it go.
Just let the kid die.
You don't need that kid. Heavy rain, you're like doing all this stuff to find this kid.
Yeah.
Just leave him.
There's a lot of reasons, both psychological, cultural, etc., that make kids scary for the reasons that they're scary.
Yeah.
That we will touch upon throughout this. As well as the fact that it's been played upon a lot.
Yeah,
way more than I realized. Yeah. Like, kids are always fucking creepy in movies and, like, TV shows and stuff. Not always, but, like, in terms of scary movies, it's played upon a lot.
Yeah.
Because there's this, like, unspoken connection that they have since they were just recently born to, like, the afterlife or the other worlds. La-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, and it's also, like, they're either being tormented by whatever horror that's happening or they are a part of the tormenting, and it's because like we're just naturally, I mean, we'll talk about it, but we won't make it that far. But we
come play with us. So
today we're going to talk about children. If you didn't get it, we're going to talk about scary ass kids. Like, why do they have to be this way? Why do they have to have those creepy smiles or the absence of a smile? Why do they have to beckon us places? Can't they just be cool? Also, if your kid dies, just like let it die. Don't put it in a cemetery.
Yeah, I feel like that's a thing.
Then make it come back to life. You can put it in a cemetery like normal.
But not like one that makes them come back to life and be creepy and scary and murdery. Especially
if previously like the evidence you have is that like things that come back are bad.
Honestly, I feel like a lot of the movies that we've watched recently in terms of the horror genre in general, it's just a lot of people looking at the evidence at play and then not following the logical route anywhere. Yes. Like they're just like, oh, I see that this is a bad time. Let's just keep doing it and seeing if the same thing just keeps happening. The answer is yes, the same thing will keep happening.
That is the whole plot. Definition of insanity.
Yeah.
Is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results.
Food for thought.
Now everyone knows.
He was a dictionary.
Look at me. I know
.com.
stuff. We watch some films for the sake of this podcast, as we do. And the ones that we watched were childhood staple of Gabe's, which was Children of the Corn.
Mm-hmm.
So
First time for me seeing it, except for the Southport version.
Yeah. This is a film that I had seen when I was younger, and to this day my mother just refers to me and my sister as Children of the Corn.
That's nice.
Mm-hmm. She used to leave us notes, like when she would like go to work, or like if she was gonna be late, and she'd be like, Children of the Corn, don't forget to like make your beds, or this is what's for dinner.
Don't forget to not murder your neighbors.
Yeah, don't do it.
Friendly reminder to you.
We also watched The Omen. We watched
The Omen,
1976 and 2006.
So yeah, Children of the Corn, The Omen. In terms of like other movies that I think we like thought about when we were doing this, obviously Pet Sematary.
Yes.
We've seen before in life. And then I always get messed up by The Orphan.
Mm-hmm.
I still go back and think about that. Like, oh my God, movies that messed me up as a child.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about like the other kind of, especially Stephen King and his kind of use of children.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen King is definitely overdue for an episode all his own, because we just talked about him a lot. Yeah, we did that with M. Night, and we were like, it's time. So, yeah, we watched those films, and Kat did some research on them.
I did a stuff and a thing.
Mm-hmm. I personally don't find children terrifying, because you can just like punt them if they get out of, they're just acting up.
Chucky doll.
If a kid tries to kill you.
I think the biggest piece, like for me, is like, well, one, I can't really think kids are that scary because I work with them every day.
Yes.
And if I was genuinely terrified of them, I would not have a job.
Yeah.
And I am a firm believer to this day that children are a product of what has happened to them. Mm-hmm. So if a child is evil and trying to kill you, there's a reason for it. And oh my God, what happened to this poor baby?
Yes.
That made it this mean and sad and angry and wants to kill you. Like, I don't think kids like start that way.
No.
And there's a whole
like
philosophical debate that goes into that, which is honestly the very large thing that makes people scared of kids. Mm-hmm. It's like the main reason is that like there's this feeling of, is it innocence lost? Are kids just inherently evil and you have to train them to not be evil? And that period in the middle there is real scary because you got like a little murder baby hanging out with you? Or is it because you're messing them up that makes them want to be murder babies, and that has them being like, I wanted to kill mommy. That's why they close the doors at night. Like that one little girl we were watching in terms of, what is it? Child of Rage? Yes,
we watched Child of Rage as well.
Yeah.
Which is a mini documentary to garner sympathy and attention for
Beth Thomas and also children of abuse.
Yes, for children. So it was from the Center of Children Abuse to get attention, so you can see that they can be rehabilitated, and kind of how they do that. It was a good film. Yeah,
I would definitely say it's a form of evidence that further like affirms the fact that children aren't inherently evil. That it's something that when you're abused and taught nothing but violence from a very early age, that's what you know. And then if you are given the supports and needs that, things that you need to recover from that, you'll never be better per se, but you can recover and have a moderately normal life.
Yeah.
Is nature versus nurture, or nurture versus nature. What? Words?
Both of them. They're versus each other.
That they both have influence.
Yeah.
Instead of just, you're born and you're evil. Oh no.
And there's no hope. Which, I mean, so we'll talk. We're going to talk about the psychology coming up, and also about those movies.
Facts. Yeah, facts. We tell you facts. All the facts. Here facts. Still facts. About that spooky stuff. Yeah, spooky
stuff. All right, so kind of bouncing off of what Kat was saying is this kind of question, which we always address, and it's, why is this subject scary? What is it about it that is instilling fear in people, and when they watch it, it's a trigger for them? Or why is it that when we see that kid, smiling at you kind of off and creepy, that you're like, what the F? And it's kind of, it's that, children are perceived to be these pure, innocent beings. They're here. They were born yesterday. supposedly untouched, and usually, hopefully untouched by kind of the terrors and the troubles of the world. And so when we see them in these contradictory roles, in which they are like the terrorizers or they're tools for terrorizers, that kind of throws everyone off. Because naturally, like, if you see a kid, you want to help that kid. Or like, even as just women, you have that maternal instinct to kind of reach out to them.
Oh yeah, they play upon that so many times in movies.
It's that maternal instinct, and even just kind of, it's naturally unintimidating, like, because you think like, oh, I can, you don't expect a kid to do anything to you. And when you do, you think that you can, take them. Yeah, that
you'll have the upper hand in any situation. You have no reason to like naturally be like, this tiny thing is going to ruin my life. Murder everywhere. It can take over my like larger, more powerful body. And stab it or whatever. You don't think that you couldn't take a kid. Like, you couldn't, in a battle for your life. Yeah. Your first thought isn't, oh, that kid is going to be able to defeat me. Because it's a kid. Yes. You have the life experience, the size, the intelligence advantage most of the time, that you think that like, oh, okay, I'm cool.
Yeah. And I mean, usually when we're addressing monsters of any kind, especially in real life, those are like people who are taking advantage of children or hurting children. So when you have it coming the opposite way, again, they have this upper hand in that we're not expecting it. But it also speaks to this kind of break of innocence in humanity. So when you see a child that's like broken, or you see a child that's being evil, it's kind of like this fear of that broken innocence, this reflection even of yourself, and like losing that.
Yeah, that like, that's a child that you're like tasked with like making sure is okay and taking care of, and they're not okay or taken care of. Yeah. They're being led into the darkness. I think that's like, so when I think creepy kids too, it's like, I don't always think kids that are gonna like come kill you. I think like the kid who's sitting in their room talking to the rocking chair that's rocking back and forth with nothing in it. Yeah. Like that they are susceptible to that kind of stuff. That creeps me out. I'm not scared of the kid in this instance, but like I'm scared of the fact that this kid is telling me some creepy stuff. Like when a kid wakes up and tells me about the parent that died, like the grandparent that died that they've never met or seen pictures of, and they can describe them in full detail. That is scary. That's like, what is... it makes you think that there's some other stuff going on where it makes you question your reality, and you become immediately freaked out. You're just like, why is this child telling me what grandpa used to wear back in the 60s when that kid was not a kid in any sort of way? Yeah. How do they know? Like,
or
we're like
past lives kids.
Yeah, like memories of like stuff that they didn't know about.
Obviously didn't happen. Or
we're like, who knocked over the vase? The man did it. Like,
no,
what?
No, what man?
What man is in our house?
There's
like, that's so scary.
Allowed.
Where it's like they have this ability to see some other type of reality that like we can't comprehend because we're old and we've lost it. Like the noise kids used to be able to hear for cell phones that adults couldn't hear, so they made their ringtones and stuff like that. Like,
yeah, that's still there.
I know, but that there's like stuff that like adults just can't grasp anymore. The whole Neverland concept, but also with just ghosts. That like kids can see stuff that adults just can't, and that's creepy. I'm not scared of the kid. I'm scared of the things that they can see that I can't see. Why is there this reality that's hidden from me now?
Yes. Yeah, like Poltergeist. Or anytime there's ghosts and children are talking to their imaginary friend, that they know these details or these songs or these stories that like a child shouldn't know. And in today's age, it's like you get more, you're more in tune to the world and you have internet access. But at some point there was times when it was like, when little Timmy, mentions this really off the wall, like crazy thing about like someone being hung or mommy drowns my imaginary friend.
They draw pictures of like scary things like murders and stuff like that.
No more crayons for you.
And I think like another thing that's like really scary is that like kids aren't they're not, unlike most animals, like when they're born, they have no ability to take care of themselves. Mm-hmm. And for most of their lives until they hit like kind of early preteen age, do they really have the ability to take care of themselves really at all? So like this idea that you can't protect them from the things they're being exposed to, that's like ruining that innocence, like they could die so easily.
So easy.
Kids
and they keep
are not
trying.
good. They're like the dodo bird. Like they try so hard to just become extinct and die.
Touch things
because they talk to strangers or they eat things they shouldn't or crawl into ovens because someone told them to even though they're not supposed to. Like stupid stuff that like
kids are
doing? Scary because they could literally die at any reason just from being stupid. Honey, like they don't have the life experience to differentiate. Like that's a great idea. That man said he has candy, so that's fine.
Yeah,
like stuff
I
like that.
I want to help him find his dog.
Yeah, where it's like you can't protect them from everything, and then that in of itself is scary as hell.
Yeah, and they have no sense of danger. But there's also kids who understand danger and understand this need to kind of go against it. So we had Kat had done some research on some serial killer kids or just killing kids, and I have, as my true crime buff self, dived into it previously as well. So we kind of wanted to tell you guys of some real scary kids. So we're going to touch on some fictional ones, but just kind of at the top that this might not be super hilarious, or that we don't
Well, it's hard to be funny when like stuff's real. Yeah. Like if I'm talking about something that actually happened, it's not funny. These people actually like murdered things.
Yeah, and they're children.
And they're babies. Like, yeah, like people who you would not expect to be murdering or tormenting or torturing other living things. They're children. I'm sure they have their reasons for it. But at the same time, it's also something you like joke about.
Yeah.
Like,
don't do it.
Yeah, it's just like not a fun time. Once we get to the actual movies, maybe we'll make some haha funny time jokes.
But stick with us because you're going to learn some stuff. I bet you didn't even know they were killer kids.
Be smarts now. We say things to your ears.
Yeah. Kat, tell us about it.
So, I mean, I read a ton. There's like, if you Google it, just write killer kids. And you'll find lots and lots of fun information. So I'll start to say names. Gabe, you had like the tail end of some of the stories that I talked about. I was like, hey, Gabe, I read about this. And you're like, oh, yeah, no, they're normal now. Or they actually do feel remorse. Or I'm like, they said all this awful stuff. So there was this one kid. His name was Joshua Phillips. And he murdered his 8-year-old neighbor when he was 14 years old. Usually also I noticed that's a lot of like preteen
Is that the young
kids.
Girl?
Yeah.
The young little black girl?
I didn't have pictures or like details more than that. Probably.
Was she under his bed?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell it.
Yeah, so the little boy was like playing with his neighbor essentially, and he had I believe a bat was the weapon of choice. That like he hit her with the bat, and the reason he gave for like beating her to death after the initial hit was that he was so scared that his alcoholic father would literally kill him after he found out that he hurt her. So in his attempt to hide the fact that he had hurt her, he brutally murdered her. Like, awfully. Like, beat her to death. I think, like, stabbed her a few times.
Yeah. And he also was, already kind of showing signs of instability. And she had, out of the kindness of her heart, kind of come out to hang out with him.
Yeah.
Like, she was a very sociable, like, little girl who just, like, went around the apartment complex.
Yeah,
and
like,
then, like,
trying to be nice to people.
Him. And like... It supposedly was an accident at first. Like, he accidentally hit her. She kind of got knocked out. Yeah. And he thought she was already dead.
And out of fear... was like, oh no, need to make sure she's extra dead. But then hid her under his bed.
Mm-hmm. His water bed.
Yeah. And then the mom came and was like, oh, something's wrong with the waterbed. And then found this, gross. Like, brutally murdered child underneath of it. Yeah. And then, like, in his, like, court hearings, basically the reason that he gave for it is that he didn't like mean to kill her initially, but that he was so terrified of what his dad would do when he found out that he felt like he had to hide it and he had to like make sure she was dead so that he would not get in trouble for hitting her. I don't know where he is now, but his name was Joshua Phillips. And that happened, and it was awful. Another
and that was somewhat
instance,
recent.
of a murderous child is Alyssa. This is Bustamante, I want to say is her last name. Alyssa Bustamante. She murdered her 9-year-old neighbor because she always wanted to know what it would be like to kill someone, was the reason that she gave. And what was interesting is that, like, in interviews with her friends and stuff like that, apparently that was not the only person that she said that to, like, that she always wanted to know what it was like to kill somebody. And then essentially one day she dug 2 graves in the backyard of her house and happened upon her neighbor walking home, killed her, and then I don't know if she actually got to the point where she buried her in the backyard, but there were 2 graves, so she actually intended and like planned out to murder apparently someone else. But when they were talking about it, is that basically like she had admitted to it. Her like YouTube channel was like all about like how she wanted to kill people and stuff like that. Like there were definitely telltale signs of like being like, hey, this kid is like not cool. Like something's wrong. Someone should maybe talk to her, get her some like help or something. But no one really, to my knowledge, did anything. And it resulted in the murder of this child. But I'm pretty sure afterwards, like, she did feel like, she was like, oh, I did it. It wasn't actually a good time. And she confessed fully to it, like, as soon as she was asked. My third example of murderous kids is Brenda Ann Spencer, who we talked about a little bit. She was one of the first school shooters. So she killed a Cleveland Elementary school principal and a custodian, which is in San Diego, and injured up to 8 other students. And when she was like interviewed initially, claimed that the reason that she did it is because it was just really fun, and you know, Mondays are pretty lame, so like she wanted to liven up her Monday. Well, or make it more interesting. You had probably the exact quote.
Yeah, her exact quote was, I don't like Mondays.
Yeah.
Which is kind of to speak to like how little this event meant to her, and that like she just took this knife from her room and just started shooting at the kids as they were coming out. And there's actually like a song, the Boomtown Rats made a song called I Don't Like Mondays, and it's based off of her shooting.
Oh, here it is. I don't like Mondays. This livens up the day. Is her exact quote. Yeah. So that's sad. But yeah, apparently she killed the principal and the custodian as they were trying to like help the kids who had been injured and were trying to like escape the bullets. So they were trying to help them protect the kids, and that's when, you know, they were shot fatally and died. But yeah, what was like really jarring about it is that her reason was, I don't like Mondays, and this really livens up the day.
Yeah.
Which is just like a really scary thing for even like, I think she was like 14, maybe 16 at the time. It's like,
yeah, she was very young.
Messed up thing to say.
And even so now, like the reason I say it's like so important that she's like this first school shooter was that she now has like gone on record and has like come out and said like she feels personally responsible for every school shooting that's happened since. And like especially like Columbine and all those ever since then was like, you know, she obviously got help, was able to kind of learn and grow from this experience, obviously, you know, at the cost of lives. But yeah, she had been abused, and she was living like, her and her father shared a mattress on the floor that she shot from. Like, so
it said like the house was filled with like alcohol and like drugs and stuff like that, but that she was not like the one who had been taking them, that they were just like scattered about the house. Yeah.
And so she definitely like got out of that situation, and yeah, she feels personally responsible because she kind of showed people what could happen.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are the 3 that I had specifically like pulled out from the list that I was reading. And then also, as we were watching through the Child of Rage documentary about the little girl who had been like horribly physically and sexually abused by her birth father, who took that awful life experience and kind of like dissociated and did awful things to her brother and her family because she was just so kind of broken from the experience that all this awful, violent, and age inappropriate things had happened to her, that she did not have the emotions to cope with that, and then therefore like didn't understand remorse and feeling bad about hurting people, and would like hurt animals and her brother, and like fantasized about like murdering her parent or like her adoptive family as well as her actual brother. But that you can be rehabilitated.
Yeah, because by the end, and I mean now she's fine.
She like, after like weeks or so of therapy, or I don't know how long it was,
but it was a while, yeah.
It was like a lot of therapy that like she would actually cry when she would think about it. Or like before, it was like literally we were watching it was like emotionless. Just like matter of fact.
Just deliver it, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I just hurt him. Like, he told me to stop. I didn't. Like, this is what it was. Where like towards the end, she was like, would get emotional and like cry. Mm-hmm. Because she started to like, that I think the nurture aspect of it started to kick in. Mm-hmm. That's like not all the world is.
Yeah.
But then also like understanding like what happened to her, maybe coping with it better, and then actually allowing herself to have emotions.
Yeah.
Which is something everyone is entitled to and should have and be validated in them, even if they are logical or not.
Yes. And yeah, I think her name is Beth. Do you know what the last name was?
Beth Thomas.
Beth Thomas. And yeah, she's doing much better. And it's a case of like catching a kid before something terrible can happen, like a murder.
Yeah.
Which
like acknowledging the signs and not taking it as like a personal failure as a parent, just taking it as like, hey,
yeah,
my kid needs help. I'm going to help them before they're not beyond help. Mm-hmm. Because that happens, as we see in our world. Yes. It happens where it gets to the point where so much damage has been done, it's very hard to recover from it, especially if that's all you've known as like in your development stage of your life. If you've never experienced kindness or like love. Yeah. It's very hard to learn those things as a 20-year-old person or like a late teen person. Mm-hmm. It's not impossible, but it's very unlikely. And you need to acknowledge the signs of bad stuff as they're happening. Yeah. And just get your kids help if they need help. But also, like, don't abuse them or traumatize them.
Yeah, don't do that.
So that happens in the first place.
And Beth Thomas, and even just the topic of killer kids remind me of one of the most famous ones that I can remember, which is Mary Bell. And so a lot of people in the true crime world kind of know about her. Mm-hmm. And she was ended up murdering 2 young boys, like 4-year-olds, who in the late 60s. And it was just this kind of remorseless kind of delivery. Yeah. But even creepy. So in 1968, she strangled a 4-year-old boy, Martin Brown. She had like lured him to this like broken down derelict house and was like, let's play, because he's a kid. And back then, like, you can just kind of go wherever you're going. And she wasn't watched. Like, her mother was a sex worker, and she kind of lived in this like dirty house with people coming in and out, and she didn't really get any respect, and she was dirty, and she didn't have a lot of friends, and so she became very mean. And so she strangled that kid. When they had this like funeral for the kid, she like they were having like building up to the funeral, so like people were coming to like give their condolences to the family, and she like went to the family's house and like knocked on the door, and when the mom answered, she was like, "Can I see him?" And then she was like, "No, he's dead, like he passed away, I'm sorry." And she's like, "No, I want to see his body," wanting to see his corpse. And it was like super creepy, and she was like, "What the fuck?" And then she actually convinced a friend of hers, Norma Joyce Bell, to help her in the second killing. And Jeez. Then like her and Norma like staged this like vandalism, saying that they did it, like they wrote on these walls and were like, kind of talking about exactly what happened to the kid. And then later they killed that second kid. It was the death of strangulation of the 3-year-old Brian Howe.
That's so young.
Mm-hmm. And then police reported that they had like murdered him, and then kind of went off, played whatever, and then she came back, and then she carved an M into him. Like, this is how messed up she was. And she was like a child. She was just turned 11.
Did they go into details at all, like, other than just, like, kind of being neglected? What else may have happened to her?
I mean, it was not exactly. I mean, it depends on what you're listening to or reading into, as far as her early life goes. But from what my understanding is just that it's this kind of neglect. But I would say that it's probably something sexual, because she
Especially
also did.
If that was her environment. Even if she's just witnessing a lot of it, then.
And I mean, you're getting all kinds of strange men coming in and out. Her mother was super abusive, was unloving and uncaring, and like, I mean, there's signs that she was sexually abused, but she was caught after that. And so she was arrested, but because she was so young, she obviously got out earlier and she wasn't tried as an adult.
Yeah.
And she actually went on to lead like a completely normal life. Like, she changed her name, she became a mother, and was just like totally fine.
She's still totally fine.
There's no report of her murdering anybody else.
Stressful. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I totally, like, I'm a different person than when I was little completely. Like, I was one of those weird kids. Like, not murder weird, but, like, weird enough.
It's usually, so sometimes, sadly, it's like a cry for help. There's a case of this is one I heard from a podcast. I won't talk about which one it was, because the host of that podcast is a terrible human being. But awful. But I did learn of this case because of it. And it was this young boy who was just 12 years old, Jamarian Lawhorn, who actually, he just had this terrible life, and he saw no other way out. Like, he just honestly didn't see any other way out of it. And he was out playing with these two brothers, and he ended up stabbing one of them, and that kid died. And then he went to jail, and he like even called the cops himself and was just like, this is the only way I could think of to get myself out of my situation, like to take me away from my family, because it's so bad. And to the point where like he was so desperate for like hope, like for help and like this kind of escape, that even the parents of the boy that he stabbed have like advocated for him and like reached out as like, yeah.
And I feel like a lot of it, like, not all, like, not to generalize children in their crazy times, it's just like people, when you're that young, it's really hard to understand the consequences of what you're doing. So that's why you'll have hearing instances of kids like not understanding that like something they're doing could cause someone to be like gone forever, like just dead now.
Yeah.
Like shooting,
that they don't come back.
Someone, or like stabbing someone and not realizing that like, oh, this isn't a video game. Oh, this isn't like play. That person is gone now. And like, I think it's something that's really hard for a kid to grasp, but especially like preteen age too. Like, that's when a lot of those things seem to happen based on the ages that I've read in general in terms of kid murder, because they don't realize the consequences or like the realness of it. And that's scary in of itself. Is like, kids I think can be very scary because like they don't have the life experience to understand those kinds of big concepts. They could kill you and not understand that that's what they're doing. You don't know what that is. There's so much in life that you don't understand.
Yeah.
That's such an abstract concept. Actual implementation of that concept will feel maybe very different than you expected. And then it's too late. It's already done. And I think that's something that's also just really scary, is that the idea, like, if it is something you can't control, if it's not nature or nurture at all, like, it's just, that's how kids are. That's scary as hell. Like, you had this kid, you're tasked with loving the kid forever. You can't help that. You made the kid, you love it now.
No.
And it's terrible and evil and kills people. You still love the kid. You're just like, fuck.
Yeah. If your
what do I do now? Like, what if your kid was evil? That's like so scary. I don't have kids now thinking that. Like,
you just throw the whole kid out.
You can't do that. It's yours. It's yours forever.
The whole kid.
It lives longer than you.
All
it's
that
not
work
a cat.
for nothing.
It's like, why do you do this? I love you.
Yeah.
Stop making it hard.
Could you please just for 5 minutes not? Could we just not murder? Could that be a rule?
Can you just be nice and human?
Could we like hug kitties instead of killing them? Please.
It's a scary place. It's a scary world.
Yes.
don't get married or have kids. Like, just don't do it.
Yeah.
Just be alone with your cats.
Yeah. Listen, listener, look to your left and look to your right. Are there any scary kids there? Are there any kids, period? Because if there is, get away from them. They're murderers. They're innately evil.
Or they could be. You don't know.
It's possible. We don't know.
Or get away from them. Where you need to step in to save them from becoming murderers.
Or just don't go anywhere. Don't leave your house.
Yeah, and there's a whole element of surprise, which is what I think made the film specifically that we watched so scary, is that you're not expecting that kid to stab you.
No.
You're not expecting, you see a kid and you're like, oh, how can I help make sure you're okay? And it's not, your thought is not, this kid's gonna stab me when I'm not looking, or slit my throat, or push me down some steps. No.
I don't know. I usually think that. I assume that of everyone, potentially.
You're
everyone
a murderer,
has the potential for murder.
If given the right circumstances, you could also murder Gabe.
Yeah. I don't think I'm not a murderer, potentially.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I haven't murdered.
Stop.
Okay,
don't make that
I
face
haven't murdered.
Creep.
I haven't murdered.
Is that what the basement is?
Shh.
Films. We watched some films. Now let's talk about those films. And all that spooky stuff. And all that spooky stuff.
The Will of the Corn.
So, we watched Children of the Corn, which is from 1984. It's based on the short story by Stephen King, which is very different from the film that we watched. I don't know which one I would like more, but the Children of the Corn, the synopsis is that a young couple is trapped in a remote town where a dangerous religious cult of children believe everyone over the age of 18 must be killed, and this is to satisfy he who walks among the rows, which is some unfaced monster.
Demon slime monster.
Mm-hmm. This Cthulhian type Lovecraftian monster that lives in the cornfields. And that's a synopsis.
I would have liked it much better if it was just it just created a cult mentality and there was no actual monster. I feel like that would have been cooler for me. But, I get that it's not what the movie was. Yeah. I can't rewrite the movie.
No.
Or the whole thing. So.
Well, and that's also but the thing with Stephen King is that even though there are these big monsters, I mean, you have it who's actually this god being almost, and all these kind of events.
I get that Stephen King's thing is not it's about real logical things. That there are monsters that are monsters.
But I think it is about real things. I think it's that he uses these big monsters, these big godly undefeatable things to convey the message of the gravity of these situations, and that the severity of these traumas that people are enduring. Honestly, the monster isn't even really what matters in his films, in his stories.
I would agree with that, but I just I don't like that there's monster dolls sometimes, because then always in the movie versions they come off so cheesy.
It was very cheesy.
It looks so ridiculous. We're you didn't even need to show it. You could have did the whole movie and it would have just been the fear of this fake thing that doesn't actually exist. Mm-hmm. But the fear of it, and having them all believe it so strongly that they're doing this crazy shit. It would have been the same thing. I would have gotten the same feeling.
Yeah, I think the scariest part is the cult mentality, because people think of cults and they don't think of most people hear about a cult and they're I would never do that. That's crazy. Who's that? What kind of people do that? But it's seeing children being susceptible to that, I can see that being real. It's just you have this one charismatic kid who says that he's hearing things and this is the only way, and all these kids are mad at their parents because they're probably trying to make them do farm work, and they're all miserable because there's a corn drought, and it's this tiny bodunk town of religious people, because they said that that Isaac was this fiery little minister. Like, he kind of had the knack for it, and there are a lot of cult leaders figured that out, like got into religion young and realized how quick it is if you're a charismatic leader to get people to listen to you and to use religion as a weapon. So I think that's what's really scary about it. And so, but it's just so absurd because you have all these children, and like you were saying, they were caught off guard. The beginning is them in the diner, and the little boy's narrating about how great his dad was.
His poor dad's just trying to be a good dad.
Yeah, and then the kids just initiate their attack. They're super well thought out and militant, and just start stabbing people. And no one's expecting that.
Yeah.
No one expected the child inquisition.
Yeah, no, it's like a whole thing. Yeah. And it's funny because like this film specifically, I never realized how much it's mentioned in other like pop culture things. Like there's a whole South Park episode about that. It's like one of my favorite episodes. Mm-hmm. I've seen it a million times. I had no idea it was based off of the Children of the Corn. Yep. No clue. I was sitting there just thinking like, South Park's so original and funny. It's based on this whole movie. That's the whole movie. Yeah. These two, so Sarah Connor and her boyfriend with flippy hair who's condescending comes in.
Oh my God. Mansplain. Mr. Masculinity over here. He was the worst.
I'm the worst thing that's ever happened.
Yeah.
You're safe with me, except you're not because everything I say is wrong. Yeah, so Sarah Connor and her flip hair boyfriend. So they go to this town, there's no people. They're like, what's up? That's weird. And then the old man who does the mechanic-y things. He's just,
and his dog.
Being nice. And then they kill the doggy. Sad.
And killed him. But yeah, he's like, don't go to that town. And then what do? They drive through the cornfields for a while. Why did he think that was a viable option to get places? And she, you know what? After a while, I didn't even feel bad for her anymore because she's been dealing with it. Like, she was like, yeah, this is totally normal. I'm going to follow this man into war. I want him to marry me, and then we're going to adopt kids that we found in this abandoned town. Like, no, he is literally driving around in circles. He's a curmudgeon the entire time. He has this very important meeting so he can be a big-timey doctor and be even more important than you. And he's literally driving through, like, it's not a road. It's just like a path through the corn. And he's like, why isn't this working? Why isn't this getting me to a town location?
And that was I did find weird though is that no matter what direction they went in, they were like still going to this town. Like
that was a very confusing
part.
That
was like weird. Like they couldn't escape it. So maybe that was like part of it. I don't really know.
I don't really know why, because like the kids didn't want them there, but then they did because he who walks behind the thing wanted him there. And it was like, so there he's in the town, and it's ridiculous because anyone of sound mind would have seen this empty ass town that clearly hasn't been lived in. Like everything is full of corn.
And just like left. I would have just
everything
left.
Is full of corn.
And they almost left, and then he saw the house and was like, oh my God, look, the door just closed. Let's go inside.
I'd be like, I'm sorry, wind.
Yeah, it's just
or
like,
whatever's
no.
In
like,
there.
We said a thing. Stick to the thing that you said.
Yeah.
Sir. Yeah. You're going to be in charge of everything. And then everything's covered in corn. It looks so bad. It's so dumb. It's just
everything
so dumb.
Is covered in corn. They really like it's town of the corn, and like there's a part. So they found the little girl who's like telepathic, but they don't like nothing really comes of that. Besides the fact that they keep her alive, and it's like she
has the sight. Yeah,
but for what? She didn't do it. She like saw that they were coming. What are they called? The Outlanders. Yeah. She saw that the Outlanders were coming. Outlander! Outlander! And so he, but they, like, we're talking to the kid, and she's being all creepy, and she's like, Malachi does this, and Malachi does that, and Malachi's hideous, and all this other stuff.
He has the biggest mouth that has ever been seen.
Yeah, and it's always a gape.
He's really mad about it, so that's why he murders.
It's always a gape. He's always puzzled. And then, like, she's like, I have a really bad feeling about this. We need to just leave. Also, we just found this child in, like, adult clothing in this abandoned house in this abandoned town full of corn. We should probably leave. And he's like, you're being hysterical. You stay here. I'm going to investigate and leave you and this poor child alone in this abandoned town and go look and find some man. I need to find the men people so that we can get this all squared away because you women are hysterical.
Yeah, it's a whole ridiculous thing. One thing I did like, that was when you were telling me about the difference between the book and the movie. I like that they got super murdered in the book.
Yeah,
instead,
me too.
where in the movie they were just like, oh, we saved the day.
And then they supposedly adopt these children.
Yeah, no, I like it better when her eyes were gauged out and stuff with cord, and then he was like, what, lit on fire or something? Yeah,
like they both died, and he who walks behind the rose wins in the short story. And in the short story, there's no Isaac, there is Malachi, and I feel like it's a little better in that. Like they get there, it's creepy. They also don't have the two kids.
Preacher thing happen if there's no Isaac?
There wasn't. It was just like
the kids just started murdering.
Heard the call. Like there's no real explanation of why they're in a cult. They didn't have that exposition. And there's no kids. There's no Job and the little girl.
Oh, okay. Weird. Interesting.
So
it's like a whole different
those are plots to make it a film, because they needed to make it a whole film. But in the story, Sarah Connor and Floopy Hair die. And honestly, that's probably just
Sarah
deserves.
Connor died, but like I like that, like, because of Sarah Connor being Sarah Connor. But you know, the rest of it I don't really care.
I also like the whole religious thing where it's used to fight the he who walks, and then I think the best part was the big nuclear explosion at the end when they finally fight him.
Where it has like a face, but also it's like terrible.
Or just like how rude he was to Job. So there's this little boy who like saves his butt so many times. Like he like saves him when he like had gotten like shot or stabbed, and like brings him to his under base that he like repair. Like the little girl like stitches him up. She's like 4, and then like they go out and like he shows him where everything is, and he hides him in this, and he takes care of the girl, and then when he like he pretty much hands him all the tools he needs to fight this godly monster in his little charming child way. And the whole time this guy is just like just throwing down Job, just like, no, don't do this, stay here, do this. And so Job's like, no, I'm not gonna fucking stay here. Like, you clearly, like, you don't know what you're doing.
You're not my real dad.
Yeah, he was stabbed in front of me.
He was traumatized. Nice, I swear.
Yeah. And like when he like goes and he throws a Molotov cocktail and he misses, and Job has to run and go get it, and then he comes back and he's like, this time don't miss. And I was like, this kid is the coolest kid and really should like kick him in the shin.
Honestly, yeah.
He totally deserved.
I mean, he was the worst the whole film. He deserved to die in the Stephen King version of the stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, he like
Sarah Connor did not deserve her fate, but he deserved his.
He keeps telling him like, go back, and Job's like, no, I'm not leaving you here I'm not putting the fate of all of us.
Yeah, you're fucking it up. Whatever, get out of here.
Like, I'm the one who's been here. So I think out of the differences, I'm glad that Job exists, at least in reference to the film, because he was a good part of it.
Yeah, and like they weren't scary. It was the older kids who were scary. So like I think teenagers are terrifying.
Malachi was super scary.
Like no, like I actively interact with middle school and high schoolers. They're a little scary because they're like big, even though their minds are young. And like they got all these emotions they don't understand.
Yeah, everything is so big
and immediate, and like you got to deal with it now, and like.
Or it's the end of the world because their world is so small.
Yeah, because they don't got the context. So yeah, that's a scary thing. Just like having that be your life. No.
Yeah, and the fact that they're like killing themselves or like offering themselves at 19 or whatever, like that's crazy.
Before they're even people. I wasn't a human until I was 22, and I stand by that.
Yeah.
We watched another film.
We watched The Omen, and we watched Bolt. So that's the film where an American diplomat, Robert, adopts Damien when his wife Catherine delivers a stillborn child. As people around Damien die, Robert investigates Damien's background and realizes his adopted son may be the Antichrist. And it was, I mean, it's such a weird, like, one, if he's the Antichrist, he's starting too early with killing people because he's going to give himself away.
It's true.
And the whole point is like he has to build up and be charismatic. Like that's what I'm sorry that my like religious nerd is showing. Yeah. But the Antichrist is supposed to be super charismatic and is supposed to seem like almost like the second coming of Christ. Like he's supposed to seem like this benevolent person that's fixing the world, where in the background he's not. So what is this kid doing that his like nanny is like hanging herself off of their gigantic mansion of a house in front of his party guests. And then like priests are being stabbed. And I was like, he's giving away. He's like putting his whole hand out there with that, like, and he's only like 6.
Yeah. What gets me about these films too is it really like, I don't know if intentionally or unintentionally, but it really like puts a wrench in the idea of adopting children.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's just like fucked up. There's all these kids out there who want to be loved. They're not the fucking Antichrist like 9 times out of 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Except all the times it's not a thing that's happening. Like, these poor, like, this probably just like, I have a real fear of adoption. So seeing like The Orphan and like The Omen, like these kinds of films like stigmatize that because you're scared you're going to get a kid who's going to kill you. Yeah. And it's only because of these, like, I would not have thought that otherwise, probably.
Yeah.
But all these films set that up. And that's, like, scary. And that's, like, upsetting. Because, like, there's all these kids that want love and families. And I don't get them because everyone's convinced they're the Antichrist or, like,
they're broken.
They're fucked up and they're, like, beyond repair.
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing that aggravated me in The Omen is, like, there's this whole reveal where he goes all the way to, like, Italy. And he, like, goes to this, like, because that's where the kid was born. And so
they have something similar in The Orphan too.
Yeah, there was like this fire, and it was this whole thing where the priest or this big, priest tells him like this is the cemetery essentially, and he goes there and he goes to see the mother, but it's not. It's like a dog or something. So then he digs up the child's grave that is supposedly like he's like, oh, maybe it's fake, and it's obviously that they killed a baby. Like there's like a damage to the skull. But my problem was that every time Robert in both films, because they're the same film, is he's like swearing up and down because he's like, this was my son, like they murdered my son, etc., etc. But it's like you adopted a child. And so
he's also your son.
Yeah, so Damien is your son. Like you got him, you raised him, that's your son. Like
yes, you had another son. Be upset about that.
Yeah,
that's
you
upsetting.
supposedly almost had this other kid, but this is your kid.
Yeah.
Like, he is yours. And so that really aggravates. And I know, like, it sucks because it's like he's the Antichrist. So you can be like, he's actually like Satan's kid or whatever. But any other time, if your kid is acting up, you can't just be like, well, you weren't my real kid, so I don't love you now. Like, no, this has been 8-9 years of you like raising this child.
In the second one, it seemed like he was more bent out of shape about it. Like, it was like upsetting that he had to do, like, he was like crying,
didn't
like, as the kid was like, Daddy, don't. Like, but like, you could see it was like a hard thing for him. I felt like in the first one, I didn't get that as much. I was kind of like, oh, this dad's just like this douche rich guy. Has wife raise the babies and it's kind of rude about it. Like, that's the vibe I got from it, where it was just like, we're really wealthy and the nanny killed herself. That's an inconvenience. Why can't the woman take care of the kid? Yeah. Man.
Yeah. Well, and I think it was kind of switched because, like, in the older version, it's the husband, the dad, who's the one who's getting like smart to what's happening and is like putting things together, and the wife is like, no, our son is fine.
I love him. He's
like, just stuff keeps happening around him, and that's really unfortunate, but I love him. He's our son. And then like she ends up like pretty much almost dying because she falls from the thing. But in the second one, it was the mother who was suspecting of it, and she was like, it was portrayed almost as like postpartum, but like late postpartum, where she's just like, why can't I love this kid? What's wrong with him?
What's wrong with this kid? Yeah.
What's wrong with me? Even like she's like, I need to go see help, like get help,
because
I don't love him. Something's wrong.
There's something wrong here.
Yeah. And he was like, no, like our son's fine. Like you're sick. You're a crazy lady. You're hysterical again. What if your child is the Antichrist? I
already said I love the kid no matter what, and if he's the Antichrist, then that sucks. I'm going to be a horrible, enably person, and the world will die. Sorry.
One, that's a big deal, and I'd be like, yo, you pick wrong, because like I don't know where he's gonna go from here. Like, he's starting real low and he's got to aim real high to get to be the Antichrist. And maybe I can stop it. Maybe I can change this world.
Yeah, for true.
I can be Mary 2.0. Yeah, well, we also watched, previously we watched, what is it, Little Evil?
Yeah, that movie's funny.
That was good. I definitely recommend that to anyone. So it's like The Omen, but funny with and super charming. It was such a great film. Yeah, it's the way I would hope that if the Omen happened in real life to some extent, like not as dramatic as that, but that ending would happen, that you would have this kind of happy resolution where you still love your kid.
Well, yeah, and then like the twist was that like the expectation was that the father would try to like kill him. Like that was the whole thing.
Just like the Omen.
But like what he really needed was love.
Yeah.
To make him be better.
Feelings. Yeah, feelings. Yeah, I said feelings. Let's talk about feelings. Okay. And all that spooky stuff. I love spooky stuff.
Okay, so if we don't like it, it's Murder Baby.
Yeah.
And if you do like it, it's Outlander. Like from Children of the Corn.
The movie. Yeah. The movie's
that he yelled at Malachi.
So I think there's no good way to be like, I like murder kids. That's not a time. That's not a positive time for anybody. You don't, murder babies aren't fun. You don't want those. You want non-murder babies.
Yeah. Murder baby to the murder babies.
Yes. But in terms of like the films and like just the concept in general, I think like it's a smart play. Like in terms of even like not murderous kids, just scary kids in general, because of like them just being like so innocent but yet creepy. I think it's like an easy, not super harmful way to make like creepy things happen. That's not that deep, you know?
Yeah.
I don't like murder kids though.
Yeah.
When kids murder things,
kids,
not a fan. Where like in horror films they make the little girl talk to the rocking chair that has no one in it, talking about their imaginary friends and stuff. That's cool.
It's not super cool. It's like the worst.
Well, yeah,
but it's
like
cool
I'm not
in the
like
fact that it's the worst.
Like
Yeah.
I think it's like a good
gimmick.
But all the other things, not murder baby.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Kids
definitely
being creepy. Outlander.
Yeah.
I'm good about it.
Yeah, like just like fictional creepy kids are Outlander and are good. They're good use, and it's good plot points. You know, it's good motivation to get people to do things like Pet Sematary. You know, him bearing that like that is one of the most traumatic scenes. You can almost like, even though you're like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
You're still kind of like, I get it.
Yeah.
Like I get like any opportunity you can to have your child back, doing that. Yeah. That makes sense.
And that's like something anyone can understand and like feel for.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, so like you won't always buy this motive that like a man's like running after a woman. And sometimes that's not even a good plot, you know? But if you have a man running after his son, that's believable. Yeah. In no way is that ever going to be like, why is he doing that?
Yeah. Because it's
like,
his kid.
Yeah, that's his kid. Even Antichrist kid, Damien, like, I do it for you, Damien. Like, yeah, you love the kid.
Yeah.
Do it for him, Damien.
Do it. Do it for Damien.
Don't
don't do that.
Don't do it. Yeah, kids are cool. Protect them at all costs. Don't let them murder, even if they seem like they're a psychopath. Or the Antichrist.
Just love them.
Or a really savvy preacher boy.
Just like get them the help that they need. Because they're young and they still can get help.
Before they become murder babies.
Yeah.
Or murder adults.
Truth.
So.
You don't get married. They'll eat your kids and your kids will kill you. Dads be good dads. Moms be good moms.
And kids, stay less murdery.
Cool.
All right. Bye.
Bye. What you can do is just try to be like good, man.
Yeah, just love your step
kids.
Yeah.
Love any kids. Just love them in an appropriate and nice way.
Did you say inappropriate?
Appropriate. Appropriate. Appropriate.
Inappropriate.
No, not no. In an appropriate way.
Yes. Love them the right way. And that's
with just like support
with your heart
and care.
Yeah, with emotions
and like time and showing up.
Yes.
And like making them feel important. And forgiveness.
Adopt children.
Yes.
Don't get married because they'll eat your kids, but you can adopt kids. Play yourself.